the agendas of our webinar. The first is um, openings, and then we are going to have a welcoming speech from our CEO, Mr. Keski, and then we are going to have materials from Mr. Dilip, question and answer session, and then the closings. So without further ado, let's move on to the first agenda. It is let me introduce you a little bit about Big Edu Indonesia. Big Edu Indonesia is a startup from Indonesia in education, and we are moving on a school consulting and research facilitator. Our 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 objective is to develop education in Indonesia so that Indonesian education will have more professionals. So there are three programs in Big Edu Indonesia. The first is free webinar, and then research academy, and in-house training and consulting. If you want to have more information about Big Edu Indonesia, you can go to www.bigeduproject.com. There you will have more information about Big Edu Indonesia. So in this webinar, there are some rules that you must obey. So the rules are you have to set your Zoom's name in a format of name underscore country. You have to set your Zoom's name in a format of name underscore country. And then you have to be modestly dressed during the webinar, and please mute your Zoom during the seminar. Later on, a certificate will be given to participants who choose paid package and will be sent maximum of 2 days after the webinar. There will be an attendance form and short call after the webinar. Please fill in the form before leaving the room. Participants are allowed to ask questions by chat when the speaker delivering the material with the format of name dash institution, country, question, and you can ask question. So I will choose some question, and then later on I will ask the question to Mr. Dilip. So let's move on to the next agenda. We will have a welcoming speech from our CEO of Big Edu Indonesia, Mr. Keski Diansa. For Mr. Keski Diansa, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Luhur, for your opening. I'm sorry, my voice is clear. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon, all participants. Your Excellency, Mr. Dilip as Mutum as our speaker. Big Edu Indonesia team that I'm proud of, which has organized the event, and all the participants who have attended this webinar. Okay, for the first, let me introduce is President CEO Big Edu Indonesia. Welcome and thank you for your participation in Big Edu Indonesia first international webinar, and with the theme Social Media for Academia and Researchers with Mr. Dilip. Okay, slightly introduce Big Edu Indonesia, like Luhur sampaikan. Okay, yes. Big Edu Indonesia is startup from Indonesia, which is engaged in school council and research facilitator. Okay, which aims to elevate Indonesia education in international level. Okay, Big Edu Indonesia has 3 core programs, similarly as Luhur said. Okay, and for the more details, please visit our website at bigeduproject.com. Yes. Okay. Today webinar we will discuss about the first, how can we build social media for academia and researchers, and 2, how essential is social media for academia and researchers. We will soon find the answer for that question. Yes. Learning and discussing for all the participants. Thank you, Big Edu Indonesia, Pendidikan Indonesia untuk Dunia. Thank you. welcome to Big Edu Indonesia International Webinar. Thank you, Luhur.
Okay, thank you for Mr. Deskidiansyah for a warm welcoming speech. So let's move on to the next agenda. We will have materials from Mr. Dilip, but before that, let me introduce you a little bit about Mr. Dilip. Mr. Dilip S. Mutum is an associate professor of marketing at Nottingham University Business School, University of Nottingham, Malaysia. He has also taught at University Utara Malaysia, Warwick Business School, and Coventry University. He has a Ph.D. in marketing from the Warwick Business School, University of Warwick, and he is also a fellow of the Higher Education Academy in UK. Mr. Dilip is a Human Resource Development Fund certified trainer. Before deciding on an academic career, Mr. Dilip has worked with various organizations in different capacities. This includes a short stint as a sub-editor with the South Review magazines and the communication officer for Consumers International Asia Pacific office, and many more experience that he has. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Dilip to deliver the materials for our. So Mr. Dilip, the floor is yours.
Right. Thank you very much, Lure. I would like to express my gratitude to the organizers, so the Big Edu, Indonesia and Project Indonesia, and of course, I have to express my my thanks to Nur Khalifatul Maula for inviting me. She was the one who approached me, and I met her when she came here for a training to Nottingham University. Thank you very much. And so good afternoon from Malaysia. We are just 1 hour ahead of Indonesia. Here. So yeah, so hopefully I can see some of my I find you would find interesting. Okay, let me share my screen and all right, I hope you can see my screen. So today the topic is social media for academics and researchers, and how I came about. It's based on this is a shortened form of a training I normally have at Nottingham, which is for about 1 day. So it's a very shortened version. So I condense it into 1.5 hours. But hopefully we will get the main juicy gist and the more important things. And so I hope you'll find it useful. And this is a little bit about myself. And I think what do you call it? Yanwar Lohur has. So I won't spend much more, but I just wanted to show you, share that in my email is dilip.mutum@nottingham.ac.uk, and you can just contact me using this email. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook as well. So, it's no point if I talk about something social media, but I'm not on social media, right? So I just want to assure you that I'm on social media, so that I know what I'm talking about. And this is my website, dilipmutum.com. And also, I have a few more blogs. And how I started was because I'll tell you briefly about my background after this. Okay, so I was approached by University of Warwick Library, and I was working at the time part-time, when I was doing my Ph.D. and at the University of Warwick in the UK. And they asked me to come up with a series of articles and PhD students, so that will be useful. And that has been, what I call it, that was in 2010. Social media has changed a lot. So there has been a huge change, and in the end, I decided, okay, a lot of people have asked me. I used to give away a e-book version for free to people who are interested, but then somebody have asked me that this book is outdated. So can you update it? So then I started updating with what with for example, Twitter initially was only 140 characters. Now it has changed, right? So they've increased it to 290. So I needed to make a few updates, and this led to my book, which I wrote in collaboration with Eslika Ghazali and Rahil Mutum. And this is my book, and you can find more information about the book on my website. So if this is the first post, I wrote this book and published So I did not go to main publishers or any of the famous publishers. So I just self-published it. I meant to distribute it to friends and family, but yeah, I didn't really see it as a commercial venture. But yeah, if you are interested, you can go and see. I have more information for if you want to buy, and later on I'll tell you some. I'll give you some more details. Diliputum.com. All right. So today's presentation outline is just a brief background about myself, and in relation to social media, we'll go on to some misconception of social media, and more importantly, we're going to talk about why we should engage with social media, especially if we are in the education or in academia. Why should we engage with social media? And then we will talk about using social media for research purposes, and how we can integrate various social media. There are so many channels out there. How can we integrate? And I will other academics. And then we'll have a concluding remark. So I will talk about 1.5 hours, and maybe I will finish earlier. Let's see. And for that, we can have a Q&A. If at any time, if you have any questions, you can share in the chat, and I will actually try to answer as we go along. Okay, so going on to myself, my journey with social media. So in fact, I was quite late. I didn't even. I first when I was in school, but I didn't really know how to use it. I mean, you can understand. You can imagine. I'm quite old, so at the time computers were PCs were very not common, and in my university we had a big mainframe. We got and then we had to go and we take off our and we have to do dummy terminals. There was Windows. That's how I started. And then after this, what do you call it, Microsoft came up with the PC with DOS. And when Windows came out, it was so fascinating for me. I used to spend a lot of time in my university. Even at night, we will go at night, and my friend used to work as a research assistant, and I would go with him. I will, play games. It was fascinating, and that's how my journey started. Then I came to Malaysia. I did my MBA in the University of Malaya in 1998. And that time was when I had my first PC, my own first personal computer. And that was when I was exposed to web designing. I learned on my own. And this was how my first website looked like. It was on GeoCities, later on bought over by Yahoo. I don't know how many of you remember. These are all gone now. And at the time it was, what do you call it? But it was very, that's why I always tell people, you don't need to be an IT background, you can learn, right? So I myself, I learned how to do coding. I learned HTML, CSS, all in JavaScript and all. Just to highlight that, I started the blogs, I started with blogging. And blogs were first started, the company called Blogger was the most popular in 1999. It was started. It was taken over by Google in 2003. So at 2002, after moving from job to job in the corporate sector, I decided to become an academic. I became a lecturer in University Utara Malaysia in north of Malaysia in 2002. And that was when I joined Friendster. You know, I don't know whether you remember. A long time ago, there was this social media very popular. It was the in thing at the time. So you have to be on Friendster. And you know, 2003, you see MySpace. There was very famous. LinkedIn started. I started my first blog. That was in 2003, and on Blogger, which was then owned by Google. Just took over. After I joined, Google took it over, and it became better, much better. So that was when I started my first blog. So 2004, Facebook, Flickr, Orkut was started. And I don't know if you remember, Orkut was a very popular social media, and in India and Brazil especially. And but later Google took over. They didn't do anything with it, and they've got rid of it. You know, it's no longer, it doesn't exist anymore. Then 2005, YouTube was started. So after 6 years lecturing in UUM, I went and got a scholarship and went to UK, and I did my PhD in University of Warwick in 2006. And that was when I 2007. So these are, just wanted to show you a brief history of so I have been with a lot of social media for a very long time. Actually, it's right after they started, many of them. So, you know, Twitter, for example, they started in 2006. I joined in 2007, December. So my what do you call, anniversary is about to come soon. So 2010, Instagram was started, and I had my first post on Instagram in 2012. Even though I started much earlier, but it was only available on iPhone. I remember, and I didn't have an iPhone, and jealous of all the people who have iPhone who had Instagram, you know, because I'm very curious about social media. I want to join, even though I'm not very active. I just want to be part of it, you know, because that was part of my research interest, to be part of social media, right? So in 2011, I joined Coventry Business School in Coventry University in my research was on blogs. So, you know, my hobby, which was started out as just writing on blogs, became my research area. So I looked at, you know, advertising on blogs. So my hobby actually became my PhD. I actually got a scholarship because of that. At the time, it was very considered very new. I was looking at social media influencers, and social media influencers are now what we call as, all this, yeah, on Instagram, you know, Twitter. But I looked at blogs at the time. Okay, so I joined NUBS, which is Nottingham University Business School in Malaysia in 2014, and since then I have joined a few others, but I'm not very active on other social media. Okay, so I will be this is my brief history of how of the different. I've been closely linked with a lot of social media, even when they first started, and I've seen the development. For example, Facebook, when it first started, and now it's totally different, right? Okay, so moving on, of course, I need to just define what is social media. Social media refers to the internet and what do you call it, mobile-based channels and tools that allow users to interact with each other. They share opinions and content. But I want to say, is this definition uh, good enough? This was given by the Chartered Institute of Public Relations in 2011. Okay, so in their document titled Social Media Marketing Best Practice Guide, I would say, this is quite limited. You know, just to interact with each other and share opinion is not only what social media is about. And I wanted to highlight that. The first social media myth. The first social media myth that I hear a lot when I talk to some less of like my colleagues, which are older generation, and they will say, "No, social media is not for me. You know, I find it too confusing. this is only for young people. And I tell them, no, it's not. And this is from the US, the data from the US 2019 Pew Research Center. In fact, in Facebook, the older generation, the older generation are the fastest growing segment. So those above 49 and 50 and above are in fact the fastest growing. And you will see that, in fact, when you post a picture or something, you might likely the first person to make a comment is maybe your mother or grandmother now, right? You post a picture and suddenly they will be the one say, oh, you look very nice, So in fact, a lot of young people are moving away from Facebook because of that, because they don't want to be in the same space with their parents, because their parents are there, their grandparents are there. So, they're moving away to Snapchat and, other above 50, huge population of, this is, of course, this is the US data. We cannot generalize to Asia. It might be different in Indonesia and Malaysia, right? Even if you look at LinkedIn, of course, popular with the 30 to 49 age group, but it's growing, with the elder generation as well, okay? For young people, okay? It's for all ages. Okay, moving another, people just for sharing a picture of cute cat, and of course, yes, it can be a place to share. It's a place hobby. People share pictures. They want memes, to rant, something they don't like. I don't like this, that, and this, and that. You'll hear that a lot, right? Of course, you have people sharing picture of their food. By the way, this is on the top left-hand side. You will see the picture of food. This is a Instagram account of one of my friends who is a professor in, cooking. So he loves to share his food, all the food he prepares. Very, very nice. And this is from my website. Okay, this is from my Instagram page. So I love to share. So you can guess I'm a plant lover. So you have foodies versus plant lovers. Yes, we do share pictures, but is social media just about that? No. Again, I just want to, destroy that myth. It's not just about that. There are a lot of a lot of things we can use social media for. One of which I will discuss in more detail will be to, number one is to build up your online profile and online branding. Number two is networking. Networking, very, very important, especially in academia. And then promoting your research, right? So I'll discuss this in more detail. Finally, for research, like I mentioned before, I was a blogger, and then afterwards I thought, why don't I do something on blogs, on advertising on blogs. So about sponsorship, how do consumers feel about sponsorship on blogs, right? That was my research topic. And all of these are interrelated, when you build up your brand, and it links with networking and also links with promoting your research, okay? I'll discuss this in more detail. Next, the third social media myth, I think, is that social media is not safe. I've heard this, a lot of people say that, and that's one of the reasons that they stay away from Facebook, from Twitter, because they want it. But I always say, to tell people, you are missing out. You are missing out on you look at only the negative side of it. Yes, it is dangerous. It can be dangerous. There are a lot of scammers out there, people who can steal your photographs, but you can protect yourself. You have to learn how to protect yourself. So, just because you're scared and keeping away from social media, you are missing out a lot of things. You make yourself private. Only share with your friends and family. You don't have to share your information. You can protect yourself. There are many steps you can do to protect yourself. Of course, I think I'm quite open. I share a lot of my private stuff in. It has become public. So yes, so that is something that I would it depends on the person who is on social. Okay. All right. So regarding privacy and other issues, you can decide who sees your profile. Okay. You can go private. You can make it limited profile. profile, so that only you share with people whom you know. You public profile, and you can also go private. It can only be accessible only to you and your collaborators as well. And of course, you can use the space to discuss the ideas that you are interested in research. Also, in tagging issues in Facebook, so this is the issue that, sometimes and you have to let people know that you're not comfortable with that. If you don't want to share, if you don't want to be tagged, you tell people that please do not tag me, okay? Or you can untag yourself. Also, you do not need to accept every friend. Okay? So I used to accept everybody on Facebook, for example. Now I'm a bit more careful. On Twitter as well, they can follow me, but I do not accept everybody's. I what do you call? It's up to you. Okay, you can also, if you are a researcher, very important, avoid posting inappropriate messages or pictures. This is a tendency we have, and I always warn colleagues, and in all my seminars, that be careful when what you post. You must remember you are working with an institution. Also, sometimes what you say in anger, or you can quickly delete, but the thing is that people have already screenshot, right? So this is the thing, you have to be very careful. You have to remember, always keep in mind what, if it's an angry rant, or sometimes you think it's harmless, like you think it's a joke, but you have to think very carefully, especially if you're an academic, right? You have to be careful, because you might be seen representing your institution, even though you say, you might write in your profile that no, these are my own views, but you are seen sometimes as representing your organization. Okay, you have to be very careful. Okay, so racist rants, sexist rants, things which are not appropriate, and then you might get banned, or people might complain. Worse, the police might come after you. You see, so so be very careful, right? Okay, so why? So let's move on. So so far, do we have any questions? Or I we take it at the end. We can take it at the end. We have enough time, so I think I can go ahead, so I can keep the time, and I can keep the chat. All the questions. Cover some of them. The questions in the next slides, right? So okay, the next discussion topic is why and how do you use social media. I'm quite interested to see some of you guys. Do you have any of you used it for research or for academic purposes? Yes. Yes, anybody? Have anybody used it for your, like, academic purpose, for research? I'm quite interested to know. No? Yes, okay. So Chandra Bagus. All right. So yeah, okay, I know people. Yes, I love to reach. Yes, Dinda, and then Rachma. Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's fantastic. So I'm not the only one then. Yeah, so we are not new to this, right? So I'll show you a few more things. Tell you about how you can use it for research. Data. So from January 2020, and this is from We Are Social and Hootsuite, they did a collaboration and they did a research, and they found out that these are the most used social media platforms in the world. So people always talk about social media. They think about Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter and Instagram. That's it. But I was just wanted to highlight that there are a lot more social media. So Facebook, we have WhatsApp, of course, right? FB Messenger. Then we have WeChat, very popular in China as well as in Malaysia as well. In Singapore, I'm not sure about Indonesia. Then we have Instagram, of course. Then TikTok, very popular now. I'm not sure how we can use TikTok for research. I'm thinking of ways. It may be a way we can actually use. But right now, I don't really see. I've been to TikTok, and it's I China, Qzone, Sina Weibo, Reddit, very popular in the US. Then we have Snapchat, Twitter, Pinterest, and then Kuaishou. And of course, Facebook is number one. So the most popular based on monthly active users, active user accounts, and of course, audiences, advertising audiences is Facebook. So in China, for example, if you're talking about, if you're, let's say you want to reach your audience in China, you are quite limited in the sense that, China has banned some of the major social media channels. So including Twitter, Facebook are not accessible in China unless the people there use a VPN. So yeah, I know that some of them they can access using a VPN, but yeah, in general, most Chinese, in China use, a lot of my students, for example, from China, they don't have Facebook or Twitter. So they only start having an account after they come to Malaysia, right? So this is an issue. If you want to reach out to, let's say, the audiences in China. All right. This is about Asia Pacific. I just wanted to highlight in 2020. This was early 2020, by the way. Not I'm really interested to find out what is the changes in 2021 because of the lockdown, various lockdown because of the pandemic. What is the impact? So I don't really know. But this was the total population, mobile phone connections, internet users, and active media, social media users, which is quite a lot. The penetration rate is almost 50% in Asia Pacific. Very high, very, very high as compared to even many other regions in the world. Uh, but another thing which is very interesting is mobile phone connections. So social media over mobile phone become very big in the future. So that will be something you can see, versus the population. In fact, there are more phones than the population. That is interesting, isn't it? So still, Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific, uh, we are heavy mobile phone connections. Popular social media. I mentioned the Facebook is the most popular, but let's look at it from an academic point of view. I just wanted to show you some of my social media channels, and this is LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is very, very popular, especially it's seen as like the Facebook for professionals. And now academics are increasingly using it. I've seen a lot of changes in LinkedIn. They brought in a lot of new features. And in fact, now I would say that they are what do you call it? Uh, Very similar to Facebook now. You can share stories, you can share, and people can comment. I found that for a lot of the academics are on LinkedIn, and um, it's very useful for them. Okay, so if in fact if you're looking for jobs as well, then this is Twitter. I have got this is a bit outdated, so I've got about 9,400. I used to have about 10,000, but then I found out that a lot of the followers are actually what do you call it, robots. They are not real people. And what happened is I deleted a massive number and blocked a few, and in the end I've gone down to 9,000 now. So it is it's a good good medium to share your research. And also I do share some of my rants, things I'm interested in, and what do you call it, I like, for example, on sustainability. And I always tell my students to go and look for updated news. Anything I find interesting, I will share it on my Twitter page. And sometimes we can have very long conversations. It can be very interesting. I remember some people have actually made whole articles by reading the how a message goes and then replies and so on and so forth. Facebook. Of course, people always assume that Facebook is very, very personal. So this will not be used for research. Yes, it's true. I do share a lot of personal information here, but only for people who are close to me and friends. I have a lot of the stuff, private stuff. I make it only for family. Okay, so I don't share those with other people, right? But we will be talking about how Facebook is very, very useful for researchers. Okay, there are other social media as well. Like I mentioned, you should have a blog. If you are an academic, you should have a website. You should invest a bit. So this is I invested in Dilip Mutum a long time ago, and it was not very costly. And I hosted the website on Blogger, which is free, and it's owned by Google. So I don't think it will go out of business very soon. So the way of hosting is totally free. I just pay for the domain name, and things that I find interesting in academia. Okay, you should definitely invest in a personalized domain name, preferably yourname.com. Don't choose something which is like, some people like to choose like alias, but I would say to be professional, keep it to your name. So I put dilipmutum.com, and nobody had bought it. But I was so surprised. After a few years, some people bought .org, dilipmutum.org, .net as well, and tried to resell it to me. So I said, no, I'm not interested. But so there are some people who do that as well. That is all right. So YouTube, yes, a lot of academics are getting on YouTube now. If I want to learn anything about, let's say, about statistics, any topic, I go to YouTube now, and you'll find out, like, for example, I'm interested in partial least square structural equation modeling. I click it, you'll have like 100 results. So you can actually choose. A lot of academics are freely sharing their information, like the tutorial. Colleagues mentioned that, how can we use Instagram? Instagram is just pictures. Yes, but you can actually always link back from Instagram, and this is to create that initial interest, right? You can actually put the story there, and I do use all of them. I do integrate all of them, and we'll talk about how we can do that. And of course, if you're an academic, you should join academia.edu and ResearchGate. So you join a lot of social media, but if you join LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, I would say, and YouTube, I would say that is actually academia and ResearchGate. These are what I recommend for academics and researchers, right? Okay, let's move on to the next topic. I hope I'm going at my pace is okay. Okay. Right. So yes, using social media for personal branding and sharing your research, right? I know that when we talk about branding and personal branding, a lot of academics shy away from it. Academics do not want. You need to be. We always say Gaga or celebrities, singers, but yes, we can use personal branding for ourselves. We can adopt the technique and practice which were developed in business schools to create your own personal brand. And this is a very powerful tool for marketing yourself. And many researchers, of course, I know that a lot of academics are quite shy, uncomfortable with the idea of promoting themselves or their work. They feel like, oh, I should not. This is like, I feel like posting or showing off. So especially in Asia, where a lot of uncomfortable, don't want to be seen as showing off, especially Indonesia, Malaysia, I think. It's like, so this is a part of the culture. So the general opinion seems to be, let the work do the talking. So my research is good, people will share it. But you see, how many academics are there in the world? From among these millions, nobody will know about your work unless you tell them about it. So especially if you're an early career researcher, people know the professors, but you are, let's say you just started, you just finished your PhD, you just finished your master's, and you just joined academia. How will you promote yourself, right? Very, very difficult. And that's why I would say social media becomes an equalizing tool, a tool that we can use to, where we can promote ourselves. Why should we do it? And I will just talk about it. Yeah, right. Increasingly, universities are looking at the contribution of academics. Now, yesterday, we had a conference in Nottingham, and this was exactly what they were talking about. We're talking about impact, research with impact. So in terms of your public profile, what is your research? Where is your research? You do a lot of research. Are people reading about it? This is the question a lot of people ask. You know, you do research, but what happens to your research? I know a lot of students, you know, master students, they spend like hours and hours, you know, in blood and sweat, tears, doing research. And what happens to their research? The thesis gets in a dusty, in the library, you know, in dusty library. Nobody reads it, and it lies there, forgotten. You know, if you go to any library, university library, you'll find like thousands of theses. Nobody reads them. Of course, now increasingly because they are digitalized, it's becoming more accessible. But you know, it's the same, isn't it? You do research, you spend a lot of time doing research, and nobody reads it, right? So are your journal papers and books gathering dust, right? This is the question. Who reads or cites your publication? How do you get more citations, right? This is, and you know, people are now talking about the H index. Increasingly, you'll see a lot of people showing their H index. And what do you mean by H index? Basically, it was developed by Hearst 2005. This is very, you know, I mean, rough rule of thumb says after 20 years of research, if you have like 20, what do you call it, H index, you're considered good. Of course, we cannot generalize. I know that sciences is much easier as compared to social sciences. Social science to is quite difficult. Whereas in what do you call it, in sciences, you know, publication also in a year they have much more publication as compared to yeah, for academic in social sciences. So like, for example, if I do a research, I will be lucky if I can get 2 papers out of my research. But you know, in science, you get funding, you will have like 5 to 10 papers out of one research. So that is the basic difference, right? So don't, we cannot generalize, but this is what it was mentioned. He said, if you're good, if you got 20, outstanding if you have 40, and exceptional if you are like 60 H index. Professor Lloyd Harris, and here's the link. You know, I can, but okay, never mind. If you his is much higher. I think it's around, if I'm not mistaken, about 40, 60 over. Sorry. So yeah, this is becoming very important now for promotion. You know, in a lot of universities, your H index, not only promotion, but also, you know, when you want to go and find a job. Now you want to jump to another university, the first thing they will ask is, what's your H index? You know, I'm sure they've already looked at it if you are academic, right? This is my Google Scholar. So Google Scholar, if you go, a lot of people are not aware who are outside academia, but Google has many sub websites, you know, and there is one called Google Scholar where you can search academic papers. And if you see, you can create a profile on Google Scholar, and I did. A lot of academics are not aware of this. Make sure you claim your, you know, but you need to open a Google Mail account. Your office email, and then you can claim it. So you can see, I can actually see like how many citations. I'm not high, by the way. I'm not high, okay? I'm somewhere mediocre. So my index is 12 now. And yes, but I can see the sign is growing an upward trend. So this is what we want to see. As a, I only started researching and publishing in earnest only about around 2013, 12, like that. You know, before that I was not what do you call it, publishing actively. So I was not researching, and I was more of a teacher. But now I'm doing more and more research. And you can actually hear what is the most cited papers, and these are all my collaborators. So this allows me to, if you click on year, you can also see by year as well. Okay, so this is what is everybody is looking at, H index. Okay, you are looking, you have created this Google Scholar, and I'm actively trying to increase. So my aim is to, by the next year, I want to at least to go up to 14. Okay, so this is my aim by 2021. I don't know whether I can fulfill my target, but this has come a long way. When I first joined Nottingham, I was only 7. So in 6 years, I've reached from 7 to 12. Okay, so this is by, and this is why we have to brand ourselves. We have to publicize ourselves. After I started putting my research on social media, I started sharing. Even people who are not academics, my friends, who are in different fields, and they say, "Oh, we want to read it." I never imagined anybody marketing articles, But then my friends are in agriculture, but they say, "Oh, okay, can I have a look?" And then I pass it to them, and and that is only because I put it on Facebook, right? So you need to share. You need to share to promote yourself as a researcher, because this is where being on social media, there are differences. So Facebook is where you have your friends and family, but LinkedIn is where you have people whom you do not know as well. Whom you might want to link up to. And if you want to say, let's say you want to be seen as an expert in your field, let's say in my own field, marketing, LinkedIn is the best place. A lot of academics are there, and once I joined, I've linked up with a lot of people on LinkedIn, and I want to show you some examples of. This is Professor Simon Chadwick. Oh, sorry, this is from Twitter. So this is not really good. So I'll show you another one. So Simon Chadwick is one of my, last time was my colleague at Coventry University. He's the professor of Eurasian Sport in Milan Business School, and he is one of the top 30 most influencer sport marketers in the world, according to Huffington Post. He is one of the to promote his research and to share news about sports. And he has been featured on the BBC a number of times. So whenever there is anything about sports in Europe, in UK, the person they usually interview would be Professor Simon Chadwick. He's actually called the guru of sport management in Britain. And he told me that, one of the reasons is because he actively brands himself and actively uses, yeah, as one of the, and you can see he's got 17,000 followers on Twitter. So it's we only thought that it's only celebrities, isn't it? Yeah, in a way he's become like a celebrity, academic celebrity. Yeah, we always think it's artists or those people who are on TV, right? Or singers, but it's actually academics. Yeah, academics can be celebrities as well. All right, but then that was about promoting yourself. That was about branding, branding yourself. Yes, we can do that as well. And I mentioned before, I was a blogger. I used to blog, and in whatever I do anonymously at first. So I used to write about, my everyday life, what I hated, what I eat, and then afterwards, when I was thinking about what should I do for my PhD, and I thought at the time, this was the growth of what we call a sponsored post. So companies were coming in and offering bloggers to review their products or write for them, and they were giving them money or products, in kind. So I was one of them, and suddenly you had research, I had a company come to me and said, "Can you write this for us, and we'll give you like $10 or $50 US." And I was like shocked. I was like, why is people offering me money, And then I realized, oh, this is a big thing now. And that was the start of internet, instead of going to advertisers, were approaching them directly or through middlemen. And I thought, oh, that's an amazing area for research. At the time, nobody had looked into sponsored post research. So I actually quickly wrote my proposal, and I sent it to the University of Warwick Business School. And after that, I got a scholarship, because at the time it was considered very novel. Of course, now it's not new anymore. We know that Instagrammers get paid, for family. If you've got more than 10,000 followers, you are considered a micro influencer. And companies will start approaching you and asking you to post things for them, giving you money, So that is, of course, I know that a lot of people have actually made that their job. Now they are full-time social marketers, social media influencers. Uh, I know people who actually work YouTube. But how do we use this for research? And why? And the question first is, why do companies think it's important to contact them? And the companies have realized that we are using social media for a number of reasons, right? We are using people, we are using that to connect with people. We are using to network. We are using to find news. In fact, in my university, when I asked students, how many of you have read the newspaper today? And you'll see, like, last time we used to be a lot of people. Now increasingly I see like nobody. No, did you watch the TV yesterday? Nobody. So TV, nobody's watching TV, nobody's watching newspapers. What are they doing? They are all on social media. I say, so where do you get your news from? So it's on social media, from Twitter, from Facebook, right? From WhatsApp. That's where they're getting the news, And of course, that is very, very important for advertising. And that's where they started realizing that, that's why companies started putting a lot of money on social media advertising. Okay, so that's also very interesting for me, and a lot of other researchers, is what are people using social media for, right? And I would like to point out there is a area of research which is very interesting, which is called ethnography. Ethnography comes from net plus ethnography. So ethnography, the guy who, I would say, who discovered it is a Professor Robert Kozinets. He's a Canadian, but I think he's now in the US. This is the latest book, I think, ethnography. He created this whole area by itself. Last time, you remember, if you do if you are in anthropology and you want to study tribes, you will go to the jungle and you go to the village and you will stay with the tribals, and then you will note down and see what they do, live with them, eat their food. This is exactly what we are doing, but now we are on the internet. Why are they in the net? Why they form communities? Why they join together, right? And this is the area which is called ethnography. It's a totally different from my area of research, which is, I'm a more of a positivist. I like to do quantitative research using statistics. So ethnography is more of qualitative research. Okay, so this is this is an area I'm exploring, which I'm trying to learn and understand. Okay, I just wanted to highlight another example of a research which one of my students did was, big data is a huge thing, and we have data everywhere which we can study. I know there are some issues of ethics, but I will come to that later. But what my student did was wanted to see the impact of the top Malaysian brand social media marketing on customer engagement. So what she did was she actually looked at 4 public Instagram accounts of notable Malaysian brands, and available called it should be Scrapstorm web scraper. And what it does is it collects all the publicly available data on Instagram, the comments, it will collect. And she collected a total of 9,270 posts on Instagram and all the engagement. And she was able to analyze, using Microsoft Excel, hashtags analytics, and also IBM SPSS. So we were able to come up with very interesting findings, like what engages people the most. Is it with pictures, or is it with videos, or what time, And I can't release it yet because we haven't published it yet. Okay, so but I would say this very interesting. I would want to highlight that we can actually use the information that people provide freely on, let's say, on YouTube, for example, and we can actually see the engagement is very, very. Is it ethical? And this is the big question right now. what do you call it, as it is considered as public domain, is considered okay. But there is a gray area. Some people are not comfortable. Some people are not happy with that. That us, people using the data that they have put up, and they will say that they never allowed people to actually research them. But this is available to us. This is, and you can be rest assured that big companies are already analyzing the data that you publicly put up. The Twitter, for example, they can find out what is the opinion of people towards certain things, right? And this is what we call as big data. And big data is the process of examining large data set containing a variety of data types to uncover hidden patterns, unknown correlations, market trend, customer preferences, and a lot of other useful business information. So last time it was simply not possible. We don't have the tools, but because of now we have tools with huge what do you call it, processing power, right? Even the phone today, the phone that I have today, I would say that this is like 100 times powerful than the laptop, or sorry, the computer I used in my university days. That is even more powerful on my finger, on my hands now, in my fingers now, than the big computer that we had it used to cover one room. So the processing power has changed, and this is what has enabled us. We don't even need to do anything. We just put in a program, and artificial intelligence will will do it. So in a single day, consumers create about 2.5 quintillion bytes of data. I don't even know how many zeros is that. One day I was quintillion is like is so many zeros. We can't. It's unimaginable. Okay, how much data it is, right? And this is a long far cry. This is young Bill Gates somewhere. He said that 640K should be enough for everybody. He told one time. So 640K people will laugh now, right? So even in your mobile phone, we have like, I think some people have like how many, normally at least 2 gigabytes, isn't it? Space in your mobile phone now. All right. So we can use Facebook group for research, and this is very useful. I've been using Facebook for research a lot of times, and but again, because of the ethics, there are some issues. So there are some common pitfalls you can avoid. So to avoid anybody going and complaining, or so you must always make sure that you do it honestly, and you must do it. Make sure that you don't misuse the data, and you tell the respondents. You tell them that your research is only for academic purpose, and that their responses will be completely anonymous. Data credibility is an issue, especially for researchers. So you're not going to do research one time only. You want to continue doing research, right? So if you have a fake name with your cartoon as a profile, you see in Facebook a lot of people put cartoon as the profile face. That is not good, because people want to see your face. People want to know where you work, right? And only credible. So this is the balance I think you have to take between privacy and some people want to be private, but then on the other hand, should you if you want to do research, people want to see that you are credible. So if you put a cartoon and a fake name, people don't see you as credible. Okay, that is an issue. Okay, so I would suggest that if you're doing it, you're going to use it for research purposes. Make sure you have your real face there, not a celebrity face or cartoon face, and you put your full details. Okay, take it slow. You go when you join a let's say you want to find out what is the reasons they join a group, and what is the culture behind it, and all this. You have to take it slow. You have to get to know the members. You should join in the discussion first, and then introduce them to your research. So, and then say, okay, I'm doing this research, would you be willing to take part? Usually if you are already a member and you get to know them, people are more willing. It's the same in anthropology, right? If you go to a village and then you start asking people questions, they are going to shut up because they are scared. They are scared, and they don't know what is your intention, right? They don't trust you. So you got to get the trust of the people first. Okay. So this is why I always, besides, I am in a group which is, we'll discuss that later, uh, which is called the doctorate, and this has been since 2010, I think, and it was launched by one of a Malaysian in the UK. A lot of Malaysian as well as Indonesians. I see a lot of foreigners now in there. Uh, all people who are doing research, PhD research, even MSc research are there and sharing problems, the issues, and it's a big, I think more than 10,000 people now. So I often use that as a source for when I do research. I send my questionnaires out there. So again, like I said, I have to always moderate. I know the owner, the person who moderates the group, and I always tell them, that is for academic purpose. I'm not reselling it. I'm not using it for commercial purposes. Okay, then people are more willing to share. Okay, so using social media for networking, and as I mentioned before, once you have done your, we need to network. We need to build relationships. For example, in a we have a conference, and then I meet somebody from Indonesia, and then we decide, okay, shall we do some research? And that's how, now, besides the H index, what people are looking for is international or global relations. So if I'm a Malaysian and I only do research with, doesn't look very, so what is, you to be seen as that you are a professor, and that you profess, you need to have international links. And the only way you can do that is via social media now, especially during the pandemic, So I'm attending conferences online now, and I connect. And I think sometimes we meet offline and then we take it online. I think a good example is Nur Khalifatul Mola came to my one of my lectures in Nottingham, and we got to know and see taught Big Edu project in Indonesia. And this is how I ended up speaking to you guys. So this is how we build networks, And of course, I'm happy to do it. And I'm happy to, as an academic, I'm happy to share the very little I know. And I learn from you as well, So I build up links with Indonesians, with different countries, people in India, the UK, and social media is a big part. Okay, so this is are so many groups on Facebook. You will find anything you like, you will find a group on Facebook. So if you like, say you like watches, there is a group. There are 100 over groups on Facebook. For people who only like Seikos, there is a group for only people who like Seikos. So if you are like, the Malaysian car called Proton Wira, there is a group for only people who like Proton Wiras. Right. And this is for academics. So I do consumer behavior. That's one of my areas that I'm. You see, like this is an area, and these are academics on Facebook. It has got 4,200 members when I last counted, and you can see this is like all the people are talking about consumer culture theory there. There's also one digital marketing. There's about international marketing. There are people talking about social media marketing. There are groups, literally groups. Anything you name it, it's there in social media, and they're talking. There are also like people who share memes only, of course. People who share tunes, right? And that is what I'm talking about, doctorate support group. So this is you let's say you want to find any article that you cannot access, you ask there. Within I will tell you, within a few seconds, you'll get the article. So if let's say you in article, many of them are behind a paywall, right? You say like, if you go to Emerald and then you see you want to find a journal, you cannot have, so you have access to so many universities will willingly share with you, you know. So if you are not on Facebook, you are really losing out. Oh, I was mistaken. I said some 10,000. It's actually 85,000 members. So at last count, that's a lot. That's a lot of members, right? So if you are an academic, if you are a researcher, you should join this group, doctorate support group. You will see people ranting. You will see people crying on it. You know, you see people sharing, you know, in PhD what happened, all sad stories. You will hear people happy. I finally got my PhD and all that. You know, so it's a very useful website. Sorry, I would say group on Facebook. Okay, so now we are coming to the final. Let me see, is there any question? All right, so, oh yeah, Esther, who says, yes, I'm in the group doctorate support group. Yes, I'm there as well, even though I joined it. Chandra Bagus, Devi Warda says, my question is, sometimes we got an unknown notification. In my case, I get from Marketplace, and sometimes it's annoying when it happens in screen when we are doing a presentation. I thought the Marketplace do like a tracing of our behavior when we register. What do you think about how to protect manage our personal digital behavior? This is slightly off the topic, but I can discuss it at the end. I can cover that. Yes, it is true. It is true. You see on Facebook, if you, let's say, you know, you like a few things on Facebook, and based on your, you know, Facebook has got they target based on your psychographic and demographic profile. So they will see that, you know, what is your age group, where is the reason from, and advertisers can, let's say an advertiser, I'm an advertiser, I can say I only want to target people from Indonesia within the age group from 17 to 30. Only these people who are educated, who are go to university. This group of people, right? And so sometimes another way is, if you, let's say you click on a advertisement, happen to click on an advertisement, and then you bought something via the advertisement. That's it. Next time you see that every time the advertisement will come and start following you. So if you bought shoes, you'll see other companies selling shoes will also, right? That is the risk. You know, that's why I said there is positive, there is negative, the dark side and the bright light side, you know. So we have to take it as you know. Of course, I think in the future, you know, Facebook, there is a talk that Facebook may go for base where if you pay money, you don't get any ads, like in happening in YouTube, right? So YouTube, if you pay money now, you don't get any ads. Yeah, or you know, or but the thing is, avoid clicking ads. That I can suggest. But they find out a way. You know, for example, if you click on a certain video, they will make sure that next time they will recommend all. I hope I answered your question. You know, this unavoidable. You know, you can try some of the ad blockers. So the ad blockers can actually block some of this unwanted, undesirable advertisement. But now, you know, advertisers are also becoming very clever. Like if you go to YouTube, they will make sure that you watch the advertisement first, right? And they will say you have to wait until it goes, and then you say, okay, then you can click, and then you go. So you are forced to watch it. There's no way, because last time people were just clicking away, going straight to the video they want to watch. So advertisers were making money, you know. Sorry, Google was not money, because people are not clicking, and the advertiser can say nobody is buying things, and to make it more effective. So what they're doing now is you watch the ad before or in between. You know? So you're watching, suddenly the ad will come up, right? We call it an interstitial ads, you know. So you are forced to watch. If you want to continue watching the video, you have to watch the ad for a few. Ad they had to evolve as well, because they know that people are annoyed, you know, people are just clicking away. They want to make money as well, you know. So in a way, we have to think about it. You know, Facebook is totally free, So what are a few ads? We just ignore them, right? So just don't click on the ads. And yeah. All right. So let's move on. But yeah, if you're annoyed about the notifications, what you can do is you can just stop. You can block the notification. I have blocked it, so I only go when I want to see. Okay, so I don't get any notification on my phone because I was like you, I was getting notification from Facebook every time, ting 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 ting. So it gets annoying after a while. Sometimes I receive like 100 messages in a day. So I just shut it off on Twitter, on Instagram. I've shut off all the messages, and I only look when I want to look. So I will go and look at it, and I see the message. So, but I don't get the immediate notification. Okay. Social media successfully, and I mentioned Kozinets. Okay, Robert Kozinets, and he in 2007 he started the blog. He started as a blogger, Brentos Postcopy. I was very inspired by this. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it correctly. Brentroposophy. Okay, he is a globally recognized expert on social media engagement, consumer research, and brand strategy. So he invented literally the research methodology called ethnography in 1995, and he's worked with many companies including L'Oreal and all. He's an anthropologist, so that's why I mentioned. So he like mated the words net and ethnography and ethnography. So he's now, I think, in the professor of marketing at the York University School, and also he's the chair of a marketing department. And I think, he's working on his new book. But he has a Twitter account. He has about 4,000 followers, and also his LinkedIn profile. And he actively engages with people on the social media. But it was what made him famous was actually the blog, which we actually had a lot of loyal followers from all around the world, academics who were interested in what he was doing, basically social media research. Right, and also on Facebook, he has got a Facebook group which is called Netography Qualitative Social Media Research. So if you're into netography, you can join that group on Facebook. Right. So you see, this is a good example of an academic which is kinds of utilizes all the social media and has successfully done so. And he actually promotes his book there, the ethnography book, as well as the area. And if you have any questions about ethnography, you can ask him on Twitter or on the Facebook group, and he will answer quite fast. Okay, another guru known marketer, guru, professor of marketing in Charleston, professor of marketing at Emory University, Goizueta Business School. I think he has been for a long time. I remember him when I first started my MBA. Even then he was famous. Now I think he's like semi-retired, and he advises governments even. He's a marketer, but he went into international business and strategy, and he was one of the advisors of government in Singapore and India. Okay, so that's an academic who has a big role, and I was quite surprised. He was not on any of the social media, but recently I saw him. He's very active on LinkedIn. He's very active. And then he's on YouTube as well. So he regularly publishes videos, short videos on his thoughts on and very really and numerous topics but he's a very famous guy. So one of the big gurus you should follow if you are following. So he's published more than 300 research papers and has more than 30 awards, over a career spanning over 30 years. Very well known, Jagdish Seth. Okay. So example of a academic which has kind of successfully using and integrating social media. So we have, this is, I think, his, so this is his LinkedIn page. All right, I think we are coming. We are at the end. We are at the end now. So I hope it has been exciting. So please hold. Please bear with me. Okay. All right. So I would like to conclude here. There is an ever-growing movement towards open access and democratization of education. I'm a big supporter of open access and that knowledge should reach, not just be circulating among academics. And this is what the problem is. Only it has been estimated that, if you write a paper, there are only 5 people read it, at the most. You, the editor, and the reviewers, and that's it. That's it, and maybe your co-authors. And this is really sad. I spend time, sometimes I spend sleepless nights writing a paper, doing the research, and sometimes the money is from the government. They pay us thousands and thousands, and then where does it go? Nobody reads it, right? And that's the same. And then what happens on another one is that, for example, if you read Google Scholar, if you type it, the papers which are cited most are on top. So if you are a new researcher, you're not very famous, you are just early career, nobody reads your research. Yeah, that's again, this. If you share, at least people will start reading. And this is one of, I would say, how I went from 7. I mentioned before, I went from 7 to 12 in my H index. I put it purely down to sharing my research on social media. Okay? By sharing on social media, it has helped a lot. So people, especially ResearchGate and academia online, a lot of people, I freely share it. If anybody wants my research, I just give it. Okay. Anybody emails me and says, Prof, can you share your article with me? I just share it. Except for the books, because books, I think, is a bit problematic. The companies want to make money, and we get a loyalty, small sum, not a big sum royalty out of it, and so if we share it, we lose the royalty, right? And the publishers do not want to work with us, right? So that's why we actually share. We what do you call it? We don't share books, but we do share journal articles, right? Social media is essential for your long-term career success, especially in academia. Okay, very, very important. You want to show impact. How do you show impact? That's one of the ways. But at the same time, I always tell you, you should enjoy yourself. You should enjoy social media. You should don't forget to have fun. So that's why, in between sharing research, which is very serious, I'll put pictures of myself having fun. I'll share pictures of animals. I'll share pictures of food. Before eating, right, we take pictures or your selfies, and I take pictures of plants, right? All right. So yeah, but and then some people are scared that people will steal their ideas or work, and this is very extremely outdated concept in this digital age. Is now like, who gets to publish it first, right? So at least you have a proof. If you put it up there on social media, on a website, on your blog, for example, you know that you are the first who came up with the idea, right? So there is no because you can always say that I'm the first one who come up with it. All right, so we have come to the end, and this is my book, Social Media Handbook for Academics, that I mentioned. It costs 20 ringgit in Malaysia. Okay, I'm selling it at a very low price of 20 ringgit, and for all members today who are attending this, I'll give a 20% discount. You just use the code Big Edu. Go to my website, dilipmutum.com, and you can click there. And what do you call it? Unfortunately, at the moment, I can only accept PayPal. Okay, so if you don't have PayPal, I'm so sorry. We can arrange. I will try to find out. I'm trying to get it on Amazon and other places. But right now, I didn't really think about this. I didn't really think about, as a marketer, I should think about this. I assumed that the publisher would help me, but unfortunately, they told me that they can't help me. Right. So in the end, I'm not going to publish it myself. I'm going to get a good publisher. So if you are, do it with Emerald or, like Springer, they will handle everything for you. They will handle the advertising, the website, and even the selling. You don't have to worry. Here, it was self-published in the sense that I pay with my own money, okay? And then I have to work for my same advertising. This is the problem, okay? So come here to the end, and I invite your questions now. So we can, I've taken a few, but if you have any questions, we have a few more minutes, so we can feel free.
So, okay, thank you for Mr. Dilip. What a great presentation from Mr. Dilip.
Thank you.
We know that the emergence of social media will change the world, and now we all know how to maximize the use of our social media, especially in the field of education and research. Thank you again for your great presentation, Mr. Dilip. Um, Now we move to Q&A sessions. I saw earlier there were some questions already got an answer. So for those who still have questions, please use the chat to write your question. Please mention your name, country, institution, then write your questions. Yeah, please. If you have any question, please write your question, mention your name, country, and institution.
I can answer one prize. Sandra Bagus on the chat. I think I see the phenomena of big marketplace. They are burning money by held a big event and blocking all TV channel for the advertisement and give a bit discount in Indonesia case. But in other case, I see they get a big loss. I don't know about this year because I see 2018 report. How do you see this phenomenon? Do they pay expensive for user personal data or other things? Uh, I'm not really sure. Can you clarify this, Sandra Bagus? Are you around, Chandra Bagus? Okay, I can try to answer what I mean. I hope I'm answering what I hope I'm understanding what you mean. Yes. What do you call it? Should we actually invest money on advertising on TV, right? Some people say yes. Maybe in Indonesia there is still a huge audience, TV audience. I'm not really sure, but it depends on who are you targeting. So in Malaysia, if you're targeting, let's say, the rural people, or there is a huge population of people still watching TV. But if you're looking at urban youth mean young people who live in the urban city like Kuala Lumpur, most of them are moved away from TV. Most of them are not watching TV. Even if they watch TV, they are streaming TV. So for those group of people, and this is what we call a segmentation in marketing, we need to be very careful. So who are you targeting, right? So companies are still figuring that out, and a lot of companies do not know. So I always say that yes, if you are targeting the general population, maybe TV is the way to go. And TV advertising is, I know that it can be really, really costly. Even a few seconds advertisements in the prime time, even in Malaysia, it can cost like sometimes up to 500,000 or something, right? It's a lot of money. Is it worth putting that money into that small sort of time? Maybe not if you're targeting youth in the urban centers. Maybe social media is the way to go. So that is part of what I got from my research and some of my reading, is that social media is definitely the way to go. Research to show that social media is advertising is effective, right? And we don't have that much proof yet, and it depends from country to country. Most of the research is done in, let's say, in the US or other Western countries. So can we bring the data from US and apply to Indonesia, Malaysia, or India, the developing world? And that's a question mark, because and in fact there is an opportunity for researchers out here. So we need more research. We need to find out whether social media marketing is actually effective. I know that in Singapore, the social media influencers are paid a huge sum of money. Some of them, they actually earn, that becomes their job. They Instagram, they work on, they full time, they do YouTube, Instagram, that's it, that's their job. Because they get a income salary just by sponsorships. So social media will be a big thing, and social media, and that is the big question. I can't really answer this. We need more research. But if you're targeting, let's say, urban people or urban youth, maybe social media is the way to go. But if you're targeting the general population, TV still has a viewership, huge viewership, especially in the rural areas. I know at least for Malaysia, but I'm not sure about Indonesia. Maybe somebody here can share with me. How is TV popular in Indonesia, or is it more mobile now, or social media? We need more research. Did I answer your question, Chandra Bagus?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm Rachama from Indonesia. Yesterday we saw that mainstream media are impacting social media existence. Do you see any opportunity for mainstream media to? What I see is that we are seeing a integration. So this is part of what we call as not to be myopic. So you cannot say that, oh, I'm going to hold on, and let's say I'm a TV company, I'm just going to hold on. No, you need to now branch out. So if you're on social media and see that a lot of people are now going into, let's say, streaming, you need to get into streaming as well. In fact, in Malaysia, a few companies have been badly impacted. In fact, one of the big Malaysian newspaper had closed down recently, and because they were not having enough readers. And in the end, of course, you see newspapers and magazines, they make money not by selling their newspapers, but actually by advertisements, right? And advertisements, they will pay based on how much is your readership. So if your readership falls, and if you cannot prove that you have a good readership, then nobody advertisers in this pandemic. So the advertising has cut, the advertising expenditure has cut. So in the end, what people are going for is people are going for social media. Yes. So I think in order to survive, they have to actually kind of expand, or they should integrate with other social media. So they can still have television, but you go streaming. You should be on Twitter. You have to connect with people on LinkedIn. You have to. Yeah, I think you have to kind of spread out. I think there is still a way to survive, but I think it's going to be hard. Still going to be hard. Newspapers are facing problems. TV is facing problems. I think probably the only traditional channel that is doing well is probably, I think, the radio. Radio has surprised traveling in the car from home to work and back, and so that somehow survived because of people listening to radio on the way, especially in Malaysia. Radio was, at one time, people thought the radio has died, but we have seen a big, boom in what you call it, radio ad expenditure. But social media expenditure, of course, has gone beyond expectation, I would say. And especially, companies are now approaching social media influencers. They're paying Instagrammers, TikTokers, right, YouTube channels to review. Instead of going to traditional magazines or traditional reviewers, they are going straight to these people. Some of them even have no expertise, but just because if you have, let's say, 10,000 and followers, just imagine if you can get even 1% of that, and you have like let's take 10 Instagrammers or YouTubers with about 10,000 subscribers. You only do it at a fraction of the sum you would need to, to create an advertisement for television and to pay for airtime on television, right? So that is something that, yeah, and but you can see a lot of middlemen are coming up. I would say agencies who specialize only on social media. So their specialization is social media. So companies will go to them and they will contact the influencers. So this is what we're seeing now. There's a new trend, a new. So the disruption is happening not just in the media's mainstream media, but also in the advertising and the agencies which help the middlemen. They are also being disrupted. So last time the advertisers, like big advertising companies, they are being challenged by, now they see Instagrammers as the threat to them, because and YouTubers, like, they used to do YouTube as a hobby. Now suddenly they have formed companies and they employ people under them. They have become the media. All right. Okay. So yes, I hope I answered your question, Rasma. Any other questions?
Yes, thank you for Mr. Dilip for answering those questions. For those who still have questions, please kindly write your questions on the chat panel. Oh, there's a following question from Rahman.
Oh yeah.
Mr.
So you have mean there's no choice. I would say so. Yeah, there is no. You have no choice actually. If you are in mainstream media, you have to use social media too. But you have to get creative. You have to get creative and find out. Who are those people who are still using mainstream media. There are still segments, right? There are still. I think in Malaysia, if you go to rural areas, the people are still watching television, and then you have who are retired. They watch TV a lot. So they are still, so the segment, if you see, you have to kind of focus on that segment. But if you're going to bring back the youth to go back and watch TV, I think that is going to be very difficult because they have moved away. So as I mentioned in my class, I asked, does anybody watch TV? Nobody. Do anybody read newspapers? Nobody at all. This year itself, I did this test. And I had one guy, yeah, I read newspaper. There's only one guy, this year. This is among, how many hundreds of students. They don't read newspapers. They don't even listen to radio, So the people who read, what do you call, listen to radio are people who are working, driving a car, So but are they not consuming media? No, they are consuming media at such a enormous rate. So if you see, like, all of them are practically the heads down on their iPad. They're watching something, or either is YouTube or consuming news online, or Twitter or Instagram or WhatsApping. So they are consuming media, but in the digital format. That's it. All right. Yes.
Okay, is there any more questions?
Okay. Oh, Nigeria. So Salisu Muhammad Dumbari, College Administration, Management and Technology. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it. Anybody else? Any question?
Okay, uh, there's more questions. You can write your question on the chat panel.
Yeah.
While we are on Q&A sessions, please fill our evaluation form. You can find the evaluation form at on the chat panel. I've put it there. So thank you.
I know that as I mentioned, I used to have this as a training as 1 week and I cover a lot more things. So in fact, I go into we have a hands-on where you have to create your account. You have to create a Twitter account, you have to create LinkedIn account, and we network with each other. So I would always suggest you guys, don't just listen to me, but you got to act on it. So go after this, open up your Facebook account, join the various groups, uh, prepare your LinkedIn account. Don't leave it blank. Make it, post up something, share something. The thing is, how, like, a lot of people ask me, they said I open a Twitter but nobody follow me, and uh, I know this is a problem, but you got to make it active. You got to start posting stuff. You don't have to post stuff. I know there is we have this writer's block. I know that this can be something. Sometimes you don't know what to write, right? So the things you can do is you can share, you can read other people, and if you like somebody, you say usually what I suggest is when you write something, ask a question. Usually when you ask a question, you will get an answer. So what do you think, for example, right? Or, so do you agree with this? So they usually, if you just share it, usually you will not acquire a comment. But if you ask a question, usually you will get a comment. And, some people open the account, but assume that just remain idle and assume that people will come and like them. It doesn't happen that way. You got to like, you got to comment to other people, you got to interact. And that's how, like it's same with friends, right? You got to start talking, you got to interact, you got to share information. Only then, you will have interaction happening, and then people will like you back. So you got to, if you just we call it what do you call it, lurker. Lurker is basically, I join a lot of groups, but you don't do anything, you don't say anything, you just watch only, right? That doesn't help much. So you have to at least say hi, hello. Even a hi, hello actually makes a difference. And you can even ask question, like in the doctorate support group. A lot of people ask question, I am having this problem now, can anybody help me? And you see, like, below that there's like 4 or 5 people answering. Sometimes they share their story. Or when I was a doctoral student, I faced this problem, and then people will be like, oh, I also faced the same problem. So this is, social networking is social networks, or as social media is a place to share network. So you got to make a bit of effort. So it will, if you just put it there, nothing will happen. You got to use it. You got to use. So if you got an Instagram and you don't post anything, also it's you got to post something at least. There are, how do people become popular? If you see, they do make a lot of posts, right? Those people, is, of course, suddenly some people become viral. I mean, that is very rare, very rare. But if you are a researcher, interested in the research, and this is, or you can ask question, I'm looking for some ideas. Or, if you say, is there anybody in Indonesia who, let's say I'm from Malaysia, I can ask, yeah, I'm doing this kind of research. Is there anybody who wants to share my research with me, who can help me? I will, you can become my co-researcher. I can do share the funding with you. Right. There is a raised hand for Triana, I think. Is it? I saw
Yeah.
a raised hand.
Yeah. Fitriana, do you have a question? Or Mr. Philip? Mr. Dilip, you can answer the question from Esther Hoy, University Putra Malaysia. Previously, social media was not common. How did you survive doing research with the existence of social media? Right now, it is so accessible to get everything on social media. So what were your difficulties in this transition?
Yeah.
Also, right now, we are going towards education 5.0. Are we heading to the right progress? Because actually, social media can distract us from doing our research as well. Appreciate your insights.
That's a very good question. Thank you, Esther. You're right. I always tell my students, when they complain, I know a lot of this, the the Z generation. Now I'm teaching the Z Gen. They complain a lot. They are very good at complaining. I always tell, you don't know. You said that if I tell a little bit, you got to go and search internet, blah blah blah. They will complain. Oh no, why can't you give it to us? I always tell, you have it so easy now. You don't understand. I remember when I was doing my in India, I was studying masters in India. Before I did my MBA in University Malaya, I did my MSc in India. At the time, we had to queue up to go to the internet. We had to queue up. Literally, we had to write our, and there's a queue. So when you want to, let's say, for example, you want to search something, you search it, and then you have to leave it because the internet was so slow. And then, so what happened is that you go and have a cup of tea, come back, it's still searching. At the time, maybe we had this Yahoo chat. I remember then there was ICQ, but it was like mostly for, like a pen pal thing, chatting online, but not mainly for research. But when I did my research in University Malaya, the internet was very, very slow at the time, and graphics were not good. So it was not we didn't really use it for research at the time. It was just for networking, and I would say it's for making friends online, right? And then we will go to the library, and in the library we will take the CD, and the CD will search, and then CD we'll have to use CDs, and then when we find something, it's only abstract, and all are very outdated data, so this like 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And then we will go up to the journal section, and all the dusty journal, you will cough because nobody has read this journal for a long time. And then we have to read through. How difficult was my MBA? When I did my MBA, it was really, really difficult. So when I have on my fingertips a lot of information, but the expectation also become harder. You're right. Social media, it didn't really distract me. Actually, I enjoyed it. Social media really helped me. Especially the doctorate support group really helped me during my PhD. I was using what do you call it, Facebook to connect with a lot of, and LinkedIn to connect with a lot of professors. I would email them, straight away. I will email them, and we even contacted, professors in Germany to come and deliver lecture in Warwick. So that was, I would say, it can be, if you are addicted, it can be a problem. It can be a problem. I used to play video games, when I was doing my PhD, and people were like, what? But that actually allowed me to relax, I would say, because when you're doing a PhD, you are like under a lot of stress, and you are like, waking up in the morning, even night you cannot sleep because you sometimes to relax a bit, so that's why I had a lot of video games. I still got a lot of video games here. So I had all this, and I used to play role-playing games, right? Age of Empires, Red, all I'll put in, I'll spend hours playing it, and then I feel relaxed after that, so just take away my mind away from research. It can be distracting, but in a way sometimes distraction is good to take you away from your research, and when you come back to your research with a fresh. So I used to take holidays as well, regularly I go holidays to take a break from my PhD research, right? So I always say, people always think that social media is a distraction. It can be if you're addicted, but if you use it, like I said, to have fun. Like I'm still using my internet, Twitter, to connect with people, to share my research. I think it's really useful. It's really useful to me till now. And as I said, my H index has gone up, and I would say that it is largely because of social media. sharing LinkedIn, and I can see the links, from even journals now. They will show you how many people have carried the news. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Mr. Dilip. Is there anyone who wants to ask more questions?
Thanks, Esther. That's a very interesting. Yeah. I should probably put that in my next talk. All right. Yes.
Oh, let's wait for maybe 5 minutes till another question. Esther Hoy seems to be distracted by social media.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. I'm on constantly on social media all the time, because maybe I need to set 1-2 hours, because I do check every time. I spend a lot of time on social media, but I have an excuse. I always say I'm doing research, but actually I don't know whether it's doing research or having fun. Maybe it's good to have fun while you're doing research, right? When you enjoy something, you do research, then you actually you feel like it's good. Yeah. But yeah, I maybe sometimes I watch YouTube too much. I end up watching YouTube, and before I know it, I watched like 4 or 5 YouTube. It's already 2-3 hours gone, and I'm like, oh my god, I should have done work. That is a problem.
Yeah, that is the problem of all of us.
Yeah.
So let's wait for maybe 5 minutes if there is any more questions.
Yeah, I'm happy to, if you are, email me, or you can contact me on Twitter. Connect on Instagram. I don't share my research much, but Instagram is where I share my hobbies. So I post up a lot of plants, especially. So I love to grow. I love plants. So now that is my latest hobby during the pandemic. So now my plant collection has grown tremendously this year. But this is just a hobby. Yeah. And also, when you have all these links, which is good. When you search on Google your name, you can Google your name. Everybody try to Google your name and see what comes out. So when you will see, so this is, in a way, that is again, part of your branding, right? Part of your personal branding. So if you are not on social media, you're not. That means you are. If you don't, your name, you put your name, and your website or social media doesn't come out, that means you have to work harder.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Okay, I think if there is no more questions, we can move on to the next agenda, which is a photo session. Please, everyone, you can turn on your camera to have a photo session with us. Then later on, I'm gonna take the picture. Mr. Phil, yeah, okay. Okay, let me count to 1, 2, 3. Then I'll screenshot it. Okay. Okay, please, everyone, you can turn on your camera.
Oh, hi, Jessica.
Hello, you all. Okay, everyone. 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Okay. So Last but not least, thanks for all the participants for joining today's webinar. I, on behalf of Big Edu Indonesia, apologize for everything we did wrong. We really hope that you will join our other webinars in the future. Thank you to Mr. Dilip too for your great presentations. Thank you for participants and see you again in